Hi there, welcome to the Ukulele channel. Today I'm going to do a comparison between three and actually four automatic tuners for ukulele or guitar. I live in the ukulele world. I do use them occasionally for guitar, but not very often. The most recent release is this. This is the Rode 4 tuner, and they've recently brought this to market. It was a crowd-funded product. It just allows them to cover their startup costs and know how much they're going to have to spend, and then after that point it's a profitable venture. So you help fund the project. I do have the older Rode 2. I do not have a Rode 3. I do not have a Rode bass to compare them with. Don't need them either, but I've got those two. I have my trusty Jawum. I should say that this one was purchased by our school district, but in the past, Jawum had sent me one of these that I actually have at home for review purposes, and that was years ago. We're talking 7 years ago. I've tried to reach out to them recently, haven't heard back from any of my attempts to communicate with them, but this product is still available, and this is what I use pretty much every day in my classroom. And then some time ago, Enya came out with this one, and this is their automatic tuner. We're just going to walk through really the three big ones right now, the Rode 4, the Jawum, and the Enya. Now I have a couple of our school ukuleles here that I'm going to use to tune with. They're not terribly out of tune. My students do a pretty good job of not messing around with the tuning, but sometimes things go out of whack when they're hung up, or sometimes, somebody bumps a tuner. Generally, my students do a pretty good job of leaving things alone, but nonetheless, here's the Jawum. Now, the Jawum has settings only for guitar or ukulele, and then you can put it into automatic mode or semi-automatic mode. Semi-automatic would tell you what string you're tuning, and then you would change or toggle the switch with the S button here to switch to each string. I like running this so that I can tune any string anywhere. In fact, I'll do it this way. I'll start with the E string, and it tells me that it's the E string on there, the C string, and then to the A string, and then to the G string. So I can go in any order, and it's going to automatically do that. I can put it into semi-automatic mode. It also has a chromatic tuner, I should say, as well. Electric guitar, classical guitar, ukulele, and chromatic tuner. I also like this for two other reasons. The battery lasts forever, and then it's super easy with these up and down buttons to use it as a string winder if you're like changing strings. So this is really a two-in-one device for me. I also do like the sort of pistol format, although I will say that TSA doesn't know how to handle that when they see it scanned through, and will often have me open up my bags and show them what this is, because they don't know what to make of that. So I'll put this one down and grab another tuner. Let me grab the Enya. Now with the Enya, I do have a couple of issues with it. The first of all is that these little prongs here on the tuner are really too small for a number of ukulele buttons. Some school ukuleles have these ginormous tuner buttons, and it's just too small to grab them. And then it also boots up in the guitar setting. So if you want it to be in the ukulele setting, you have to hold down the button and switch it to ukulele. There's also a metronome if you click again on it. But it also has an automatic mode, a semi-automatic mode, so you can do it that way. Again, the semi-automatic would have you go to a string and then tune, but the automatic mode means I should be able to do the same thing. This is a different ukulele. And again, trying to get the tuners into that grabber is a little tricky. There you go, and it really holds on too. So if you're tuning quickly, this may not be what you want to use. So it says this one's basically in tune. Really loud beep. Does it work? Sure, but all you have to do is really make sure that you click it into ukulele mode rather than guitar where it starts. Now the next tuner we're going to look at is the Rode 4, the newest one here, and it has a lot of similarities to the Enya, but it's different at the same time. They're about the same size, about the same weight. They have buttons in relatively the same places, although the Rode has a spinning wheel and then toggles back and forth. But with that, the Rode does have a couple of things that are unique. First of all, Rode really intends you to have a profile for each ukulele that you're tuning rather than just a general ukulele or guitar setting. And I think that over time, that setting and as you tune it, the tuner sort of matches that instrument when you pick it up. But the buttons are in a similar place as the Enya, and you touch and hold and it turns on. It's got a big color display. And I've got this set so it goes to the most recent ukulele that you tuned. If you don't want that, you can hit the back arrow and then choose what instrument you want. You can program it on an app and get those sort of profiles ready to go. Or there are some general tuning as well. So like I have a standard ukulele I can choose as well. So you can scroll up and down and then the buttons select it. And then in this case, it is going to not have a fully automatic mode. It's going to be that semi-automatic mode, which is its standard. But the prongs do hold far better than the Enya and fit a number of different size pegs. I'm just going to choose a different instrument that I already have programmed in here and allow it to tune. So I get it into that tuning mode after selecting the instrument, put on the string, and it tells you when you're done with a flash and a beep. And then one more. Now, as I've already said with the Rode 4, the only negative with the Rode 4 for a teacher is that you would have to select the start each time, whereas with the Enya and with the Jawum, you can leave it in an automatic mode all the time and just switch to whatever string you're working on, and it's going to tune to whatever string is closest. Whereas this is really not designed for that particular reason. Now, does it work? Absolutely. Is it worth buying? Absolutely, especially if you're tuning your own collection of instruments and each one has its profile in here. Just, it's not as useful in a classroom setting. Now, can you use it in a classroom setting? Absolutely. It's just not as useful as a tuner with the automatic mode. Now, I might as well also show the Rode 2. The great part is that if you have something like the Rode 2, it still works. And it always has worked. I did wear out a button on a Rode 2 and the company replaced it. It was still well under warranty period. This would not be any longer. They've already had the Rode 3 and the Rode bass for some time. But this is actually set up for a TUSL Kids ukulele. And again, you can select what instrument you want to tune. Then you press the button to select it, and then it will tune. Again, not an automatic, but a semi-automatic fashion. And I kind of detuned this ukulele to allow this to happen. And you can see it's not quite as fast as the Rode 4, but it's also not bad. I think this one is set to always tune up as well. So with that, no real problems with that either. It was a nice form factor. I think there is something nice about the pistol hold when you're tuning an ukulele, but that's not really a negative with the Rode 4, and the holding of the Rode 4 is pretty nice. Now, I had one other thought, which was let's tune the same ukulele with all 4 tuners and then see what it actually says on my Unitune after each tuning in terms of how accurate they are. Now, again, as a music educator, if all my ukuleles are relatively close on the wall, that's good enough because they're not going to stay in tune as kids play them, and some play them really hard. They're not trying to be bad, but they actually strum really hard because they get involved in what they're doing. So they're not going to stay in tune completely anyway. It's never going to be perfect, but if it's relatively close, we're good to go, which is probably the same in any ukulele group you play with. The standard for what actual intonation is probably pretty wide. So the oldest 2 are the Rode 2 and the Jawum. So let's just start with the Rode 2. This is the same ukulele I just tuned with it, but let's just do it again. It's ready for the TUSL Kids. I select it, and I tune each one. It is tuning down as well, it turns out, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. The other benefit is that you can talk and teach while you're using one of these. You don't have to like do it all focused. Now, here is my Unitune. This is by TC Electronics, and both these and the Peterson tuners tend to be the most accurate tuners on the planet. The negative of the Unitune here is that the display doesn't turn. But let's see what we got here. Touch sharp. Really sharp. A touch sharp. A touch sharp on the Unitune. All right, let's go to the Jawum then. Same instrument. I'll make sure that it's in ukulele tuning. Here we go. All right, let's check it with the Unitune here. Just faintly sharp. Still sharp. A little sharp. Faintly sharp. All right, now let's go to the Enya tuner here. Again, it kicks into guitar right away, so you'd have to touch and hold the ukulele. But it's in auto mode, so let's tune it. Again, getting the buttons in is a little bit of trick with this tuner. So it's in tune. Okay, on to the E string. That sounds flat to me, but we'll find out. And then to the A. And I didn't get a good grasp on the tuner itself. Still not in there. Yeah, it's hard to get that in there. It says that that's in tune as well. So let's see what we're looking at here. Now the G is in tune. The C is perhaps a little flat. The E is pretty flat. And the A is just faintly sharp. All right, and let's try out the Rode 4. It is set in a standard GCEA tuning, although not for the profile of this instrument. Let's see what it does. Says it's in tune. Says it's in tune. And I guess there's not a flash of light on the top as you tune that. I'll turn that off there. All right, and let's check it. A faint touch sharp. Perfectly in tune, C. A faint touch sharp, E. And perfectly in tune, A. Now, let's see just what happens if we go back and forth between the Jawum, which again is what I use in my classes just because of the automatic mode. Also, the battery lasts forever. They do not say on this tuner, and again, this is pretty old technology at this point, how many milliamp hours are here, but they do say that the Rode 4, it says right on there, is I think it says 800 milliamp hour battery, whereas the Enya says that it is a 3100 milliamp hour battery. So, but they weigh about the same nonetheless. But let's just tune the two of them that I would generally use, either the Rode 4 or the Jawum, and compare them. So here's the Jawum. And again, just as a comparison, G is right in tune. C is a little sharp. E is a touch sharp. A is a touch sharp. And then let's compare it with the Rode 4. It's ready to go. Opens in that mode, which is nice. I wish it would just restart over again. It brought it down just a touch. Didn't really do anything to that one. A little bit down. And let's see what we're looking at now. in tune at the G, little sharp at the C, slightly sharp at the E, and very slightly sharp at the A. In most of these, I think you could hear it as well. The sharper flat was really small. I think it was only the Rody 2 that had some really significant differences in pitch. And in fact, let's give the Rody 2 one last chance just to be fair. But again, it's old technology, right? 7 years old or something. So I'm in the setting for PUSL Kids. Turn it a little bit sharp. Kept that one there. Says that one's fine. Says that one's fine as well. All right, and let's see what it says about that with the Unitune here. Says the G's in tune, C's a little sharp, the E's a little sharp, and the A is in tune. So yeah, I think it's going to differ a little bit each time that you tune, just by that fraction. Is it close enough for me as a music educator? Absolutely. Is it probably close enough for you as a player? Absolutely. Can you get closer as a player by hand? Absolutely. Could I as a teacher get closer by hand with like the Unitune, which is far more sensitive? The answer is of course, but it's time. I can tune 40 ukuleles in 10 minutes with the Jawum. That makes it easier. If you have something like an 8-string ukulele and something like the Rody 4 that you can customize to tune those strings, that might make things so much more easy as a player with something like an 8-string ukulele or something like that. So I hope you've enjoyed this comparison of these. Again, I would recommend either the Jawum to a school or the Rody 4 to just about anybody. You can really feel the quality of the Rody 4. And again, the Jawum is just such a good tool in the classroom, and especially with the string winding ability, that form factor of a pistol, the battery that lasts forever, and the Rody just as a quality piece of technology is just excellent. So if I was a private owner of ukuleles and not a school teacher, this would probably be my choice over the Jawum. All right, thank you so much for joining for this video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more uke stuff for you.